Well, premiering on September 11th, this Thursday, 8 military veterans and their family members are staging their own stories in a theatrical production portraying the incredible and diverse experience every person who serves in the armed forces has. Here with more on what is called Telling Albuquerque is Max Raynard, senior writer and producer for the Telling Project, and Caroline LeBlanc, local producer and writer-in-residence at the Museum of the American Military Family. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Hi.
So this sounds like quite an incredible project. You basically, you're taking veterans, putting them on stage, and letting them tell their stories from their experiences, right?
Right.
That's correct.
Okay, so what are we going to see from them? How authentic is this?
This is entirely authentic. This is these are people who have undergone experiences that who are looking you directly into the whites of your eyes and telling you their stories, from military veterans who were on the ground to people who have experienced military, the military family experience, from a military brat who's spent 24 years traveling with a family to a wife who dealt with her husband's undiagnosed PTSD. So all these stories are being told directly by the people who experienced them.
Okay, so you go around the country,
Yeah.
Max, and you put these productions on. And Caroline, you're from Albuquerque, and
I
you
am.
help put it together here.
Yes.
What kind of amazing stories do we have from veterans and their families in our town?
Oh, we have many stories. We have lots of veterans, and they're living largely unseen. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're right. I mean, this is a military town.
Right.
This is a military state, not just Albuquerque. So there is so much where you talk about veterans. I can imagine of wars past. You can have older veterans in the
Yes.
production, and then there are people. I mean, veterans now. It's crazy to think who are 22, 23 years old
Right.
coming home from a war.
Right. And a
Okay.
lot of them live in Albuquerque.
Yes, they absolutely do. Max, I'm just curious. Some veterans, when they think about their experiences
Yeah.
in the military and war, they get closed in.
Yeah.
My brothers are both in the military, so is my dad, and they don't talk about these things. So how is it that you're able to get them onto a stage to not just talk about it, but to do it live in front of a crowd?
So the idea for the Telling Project actually began with a group of veterans who wanted, a group of veterans at the University of Oregon actually, who wanted to communicate to civilian students what their stories were, and felt that an immediate conversation was a lot better than doing it via news or television. And so they approached us, and that really is how it very often works, is that the veterans who want to tell their story self-identify. But that doesn't mean that what they're doing is not very difficult. They are, in the process, going really deep, and they are going to parts of their histories and parts of their experiences that are very difficult to talk about. And so it's our job to provide the techniques and to provide the safe space and to provide the support to be able to do that in a way that's good for them and good for the audience.
So how much are you two and everyone involved in the production kind of affecting their stories to make it good for the stage?
Well, we'll say this. We interview the veterans, we record those interviews, we transcribe those interviews directly, word for word, and then we edit down, we shape, we interweave stories. So contextually they change a little bit. So you'll have, for example, somebody talking about their experiences as a door gunner, and that story comes up alongside somebody's story about being a military brat. And so they contextually kind of shift,
Sure.
but we do not change a word. We do not change a word. And then also in the rehearsal process, in the directing process, stories shift a little bit. People say they want to change this part of their story or
Sure.
that part of their story. The veteran maintains complete editorial control over their story. What they say on that stage is what they want to say and how they want to say it.
Okay. Caroline, I'm just curious, for someone who grew up here in Albuquerque, we talk about a military city and military state. What have you learned about veterans and their families through this process?
Well,
And what will we learn in this production?
people tell their stories, their inside stories, an awful lot, and
They're deep.
they're deep.
They're very, very
They're
deep.
very
I
deep.
take it. Very
Yeah,
personal.
they're very deep, and they're very varied. I think one of the things we'll learn is that veterans are not all the same, and we've come to be used to seeing veterans returning from our current combats.
The Middle
But
East,
veterans
mostly.
have a varied experience. And so I think our performance will help to also demonstrate the variety of experiences that veterans have.
Yeah.
And we have veterans starting from Vietnam coming forward to post 9/11, and so we'll also get a sense for the spectrum of veteran stories.
I'm glad you brought that up, because veterans coming home from Vietnam got a much different experience than veterans coming home from the Middle
Exactly.
East today.
Right.
Okay, so the performances start this Thursday. They're going to be at South Broadway Cultural Center.
Right.
How much are tickets and how long do the
Free to the
performances
public.
go?
Free to the public, and probably about 90 minutes. We're still in rehearsal process, but we're thinking about 90 minutes.
90 minutes, and it's free.
It's free.
An incredible
It's free to
chance
the
for
public.
everybody, for adults, for kids, to go out and learn.
There are some mature themes that people should be aware of. So kids. Parental discretion is advised.
There you
guys.
go. Maybe
Yeah.
a good discussion to have with your
Yeah.
children. Max and Caroline, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for bringing
Thank
this
you.
here.
Thank
this
you.
sounds very interesting. For more about it, you can head to our website at krqe.com. Click on links. It is 7:30 right now.